what about a software business in Wyoming as opposed to New Mexico? Are there any unique things about a software business that need to be considered?
We could go into a lot of nuances there on a software business because oftentimes software has intellectual property. Maybe it's possible they could get a patent, or for sure they could get a trademark, at least for their brand, with the software company. And they do have intellectual property with the software itself, for sure. From an asset protection standpoint, Wyoming does offer better asset protection than New Mexico. They just have more clear statutes protecting the assets in an LLC in the event that members have issues. They don't allow the ability to kind of pierce the corporate veil under any circumstance. Whereas most states, New Mexico included, there are some possibilities where the corporate veil can be pierced. However, in that case, oftentimes with businesses that have intellectual property, I recommend, at least my consulting clients, I recommend them to hold the intellectual property in a Wyoming entity, but then run the operating business through a different entity. And that could be a second Wyoming LLC. That could be a New Mexico LLC. That could be, it depends. If you had an office with like a team working in Columbia, South Carolina, then you'd probably want to do that through a South Carolina LLC because as we've mentioned in previous videos, you would actually have nexus in the state with the office and employees, but you could still piece out the intellectual property of the business into a Wyoming LLC. So I would go that route if I had some software that had some high value or potential high value. Now, if you didn't want to have two separate entities in place, then I'd probably just do Wyoming. Unless, of course, as I noted, you had an office with employees and stuff in a particular state. Then in that case, you really need to register in that state. Using South Carolina as an example, you would need to register in the state of South Carolina because you have nexus there. And then the alternative option is if you really want the asset protection of Wyoming, but you still have the office in South Carolina, you can register the company in Wyoming and then you register it as a foreign business or a foreign entity doing business in the state of South Carolina. And so then you would still be able to have the employees and the state tax number in South Carolina, but have the protections of the corporate business or the corporate entity being in Wyoming. New Mexico offers a lot of value for privacy, and it's completely fine for anybody that has like just cash generating entities where all you're doing is earning cash and you're passing through the income to the owner. But if you have any significant assets, I typically recommend Wyoming LLCs.